Okie dokie.
All
Whenever
right.
you are ready.
Yep. Don't let anyone put you down because you're young. Teach believers with your life by word, by demeanor, by love, by faith, by integrity. Stay at your post, reading scriptures, giving counsel, teaching. That is from 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12.
Shay, love having you here.
Thanks for having me, Ash.
I'm
Love
so
being here.
excited. I am getting so close to the wedding.
I know.
I picked up my dress.
Exciting.
It's so surreal. It's so weird. I'm very excited though. In the next few weeks in the lead up to the wedding, the schedule of the podcast is going to look a little bit different. I'll explain more probably over on the Everyday Joy Facebook group or on social media.
Yep.
But we're going to do some awesome episodes on marriage, relationships, singleness, all
Love
those
it.
fun things. So if you're any of the above, get ready. Or actually, there's also going to be a beautiful one on like parenting and like how that
Fantastic.
changes and how marriage changes once you have kids. So get ready for all of that. It's going to be lots of fun. But
That's
we're
very
jumping into this verse today. 1 Timothy 4 verse 12.
Yes.
I love this verse.
Me too.
I think that it, as a younger person who is, whether it's serving in church, whether it's at work, whatever it is, I personally get encouraged by this verse because I can find myself being quite intimidated or maybe like disqualifying myself in a lot of areas because I go, oh my goodness, I'm leading, I'm serving alongside, or I'm walking with people who are so much more experienced, so much closer to God, all of these different things. And I feel like I write myself off
100%.
so often.
Yes.
So often. So hearing this verse, I think it just helps me to go, I actually have value in what I do know. Doesn't mean I have to know everything.
No.
Doesn't mean I have to have it all figured out. But the things that God has taught me, the road and the path that I have walked is valuable.
100%.
Because it's easy to just think, oh, my road isn't as long. I haven't been on this walk of life as long.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you haven't learned things. I was literally saying to someone the other day, I was chatting to this person and they were saying how, I just struggle because I feel like when I'm leading people, it's this wrestle of going, yeah, but I don't have life figured out. And I said to them, I was like, you know what? You don't have to have life figured out. If you've walked through that season, that's all that matters.
And can I just say, no one, not one person has their life figured out.
I know, right?
Like, yes, they might have some facet of their life figured out.
There might be seasons of life where they've become more disciplined or figured
or
it
have
out.
more routine, or are like, okay, this is starting to feel like I'm getting it. And then bang, something happens and your whole world's turned upside down.
Yeah.
But what I love about this verse is, yes, like you were saying, you are never too young to be used by God.
Yeah.
Ever. And that's at every stage in our lives. I think no matter how old we
Yeah.
are, we always feel like we're still too young or we still don't have enough experience.
Yeah. Or I think on the other end of the scale, you also then, I talk to the most beautiful, elderly women at my church.
Yeah.
And it almost is like, they're like, oh yeah, no, that's not for me anymore. And I'm like,
Exactly.
guys,
Yep.
you have so much wisdom. You have a life of walking with God, a life of experience, a life of, sometimes I speak to the older ladies at my church and I go, you have been through it. I was like, you have walked some of the most trying circumstances ever. And the fact that you still love God, the fact that you still love people, the fact that you still have faith that God will move.
Yeah.
I just think no matter where you are in life, you can't disqualify. You can't
Correct.
disqualify yourself. And it actually needs to almost be like a daily thing of going, okay, God, how are you going to use me? What are you going to do in this scenario? All of those things.
I love it. This verse reminds me, when I was younger, I was a very confident child. Like, I can't stress how confident I was. I was so bold and I had no fear.
I love that.
I would talk to people about God. I would pray for people. And I'm like 5 and 6 years old.
That's
like,
amazing.
All the confidence in the world. I loved singing. I loved performing. You could just get me up on stage and I would do whatever. And then as I reflect, I notice as I got into my teens and into my I guess teen to young adult area, the confidence just fizzles for no exact reason.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I go from having no fear, being the boldest child, to being really self-conscious and constantly doubting myself, constantly disqualifying myself for everything for no reason. It just happens. And I don't know if that's something you've experienced as well, Ash.
Yeah.
But I think we're always I think it's just something that, we go through. And only now in my 30s, I'm starting to rebuild that confidence and to just stop disqualifying myself, because who am I to say what I can and can't do? Like, my future and my life has completely been planned out by God. And I don't want to not do something just because I'm a bit scared that I don't have it together or I'm not qualified enough. Even for this job, even for working here, I wasn't going to apply, because when I read the job description, I was like, yes, that's all me. But then when it came to the actual experience part, I had none of it. And of course, in some jobs, you do need a lot of experience, but sometimes you don't really need the technical experience. So I stopped disqualifying myself. I'm like, God, if you want me to have this job, then you will make it work.
Yeah.
Despite how qualified I technically am. And bang, here I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like when you disqualify yourself, you're not letting God do his thing. You're saying, God, I don't believe that, your way is actually the best, because you're choosing what to do. Does that make sense?
It's almost like that. I don't know if you've heard this before. I'm sure you have. But I hear it often in church where people often say, like, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the calls.
Oh, yes.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I have.
And it's so good because you kind of go, as people and in our current world, sometimes it's easy to think, like, I was even talking to someone the other day, right? And this is a great example. They were like, I'm thinking of starting, kind of like what you were just saying, starting a new career, going into this new field. And they were like, but there's so many good people in this field.
100%.
And they were like, so I'm probably not going to do it.
Yep.
And it broke my heart, because I said to them, I was like, you are talented. You are amazing at this thing. And I said, at the end of the day, everyone's experience of your product, your work, your job, whatever you do, everyone has a different opinion on it. So there are going to be people who, yes, maybe in your head you go, oh, I'm not as good as this person. Someone's going to look at what you do and go, you know what? I love it. You know what?
Yes.
That is what I want. That is the picture that I had, or you've delivered this thing exactly how I wanted it to. And so just because you're not, quote unquote, the top of the industry, maybe charging the most or doing the best or whatever it is, there are still people who are going to love what you do. So don't disqualify yourself before you step into it and see what God does.
Exactly. And also just want to say, if you have put yourself out there or stepped into something and it hasn't worked, don't be down on yourself. It's not because you aren't good enough. It's merely that just wasn't the right door.
Totally.
Like, it's okay. Be proud of yourself for still putting yourself out there, stepping out of your comfort zone. It just wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I love that. And so I think whether you're listening today and maybe you're fresh out of high school, fresh out of uni, and you're trying to just figure out what step you have, don't disqualify yourself. Be bold. Take those steps. Obviously, bring God on board. Pray about it. See what he says about the situations. But at the end of the day, if you feel God on it, take this step. Be bold. Make those decisions and don't be intimidated, reminding yourself that he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I think even if you're listening and you're in your 60s or your 50s or however old you are, make sure you don't disqualify yourself. If you feel like you want to start something new, start something new. Don't write yourself off. Trust God, ask him for his direction and his confidence and his wisdom in it all. But take the step. Be bold. Don't be intimidated by what maybe we think the world, or maybe making mistakes or failures or not getting it perfect 100% of the time will do. Take the step. Be bold. And I think that there's going to be some great steps that are taken out of this.